in for Watio, who has left this team, and it is going to be very interesting. OMG, though, looks like they're going to be opening up with our tried and true here in the Zen Goats. Orgless and Hungry, we'll have to wait, but it's almost certainly that they're going to mirror them with the possibility of having a Winston rather than a Reinhardt. But again, this particular control point, this particular stage is very high. There's a lot of high ground available. You can force a lot of rotations. You can force the teams to sort of play to your strengths as opposed to the other. And so Winston does provide some value there for sure. And we get to meet our friend of downtown. Dude. Yeah, it's such an interesting look, that cow.
I loved it, dude. Everywhere. The cameraman is having some fun with the bovine booty up there. So here we go. Moving in, we do have Wayfast. He is one of those players to watch, especially in the Zarya in this GOATS competition. Of course, that's one of your biggest sources of damage. And you see Orgless and Hungry are seeing what they're going up against and saying, oh my goodness, let's back up, let's reset ourselves, let's make sure we have exactly what we want. Ruby is one of the newest players to the team, as Wadio has been released, and he will be switching. And oh my goodness, a full sale here for Orgless and Hungry. They're coming out with a more DPS-centric comp.
More DPS, and actually instead they're going to be going to the Ano Mercy with the Pharah. So this comp, they see the Zen Goats, they see the Reinhardt, and they choose to play around that with the high ground available with Pharah in the air, trying to rain down damage onto the bunker comp that they've set up here on point shift.
And look at this, Pierogi says, just get behind my shields, friends. I will soak up all of this damage while we capture the point for essentially free. Oh, wow, great biotic grenade in combination with the concussion, which will allow Orgless and Hungry to start chewing through some of those bodies. None of them big yet, but they're all effective. With no support here, Pierogi will surely fall here in just a moment as long as the DPS can focus up a little bit higher, and Kagasi will help in that. Another great biotic grenade from Ruby. Talk about having an impact early. The Ana player for Orgless and Hungry showing up.
Yeah, this is a really, really good read, and now out of my game, I'm going to switch up. The reason why they win that fight out is because, yes, GOATS is so good at providing pressure, but if you're forced to be static and not get Inspire healing up, the GOATS comp really doesn't be able to succeed. They force the rotation of shield, they force the bubbles from Wayfast, and then they switch the Bionade comes in off a great play by Henningsen to actually knock them out of the way with the Hammond. A good read from Orgless and Hungry, and now out of my game, they're going to switch to dive comp and try and isolate a target here, Ruby being the selection.
Indeed. And Kasa is actually the first person to fall. Both Anna's actually the first to drop. And now on top of the point, you're seeing the Wrecking Ball get hacked and also taken down. Good play and focus there from the combination of the Sombra plus the rest of the team from Out of My Game. And now it comes down to on the point. And we do have a pretty even spread at the moment, but Out of My Game trying to swing the point back in their favor. But Bob on point will do more than enough work to keep things in favor of Orgless and Hungry, who will now be reaching up to above that 50% mark.
Here's the strength of DPS comps. It's their ultimates. They have very high impact ultimates, and the fact they were playing DPS longer meant they were able to build those ultimates and win that fight out. Bob, coupled with the area denial of the Wrecking Ball and the EMP, they're going to commit very hard to this, are Orgless and Hungry.
I like that slam, though, coming on in for the Wrecking Ball of Henningsen is able to put down a minefield just to keep all of that support line away from the front line that was getting a little bit over aggressive, and even on top of that, Pierogi did also drop away. So things looking really smooth and solid for Orgless. This is definitely not something we've seen in the past from them, but maybe just the addition of Ruby has allowed them to feel a little bit more comfortable as far as how they want to push.
It's interesting because Out of My Game plays sort of a dry push to try and get ultimates out. They get the two, right, from EMP and the Mines, but they don't really get much value in terms of building their own. They're going to walk into this next fight, trying to get that EMP online, and that is going to be the opening marker. Killing that Pharah is so very valuable.
Indeed it is. Pole's able to get right into that Pharah's face. Self-destruct on point. Surely should take care of the Bob, or at least most of the HP. Sound barrier will be forced out for Orgless and Hungry, who want to commit. The boost also being put in. Now Olu, he's in the blade. He's found himself one. Now a second, looking for the airborne Mercy. Not quite enough range on that blade to connect, but regardless, the damage has been dealt. Out of My Game, they will swing this point in their favor. Was that a barrage? It has to be a switch coming for Kagasi. There's no way you just barrage that being by there by yourself.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. They are going to go, and look at that. Olu reads what's happening. Back to spawn they go. Both teams get a full reset here, as they both read that they're going a Ghost variant, and so they're going to switch up their own comp to try and get there. Kaz can actually play on the Zen now because the Sombra is gone from Orgless and Hungry, and that pressure is gone way fast with the EMP, trying to set it up right away.
Looking for a target, gets detected for a small moment, but we'll just move over towards the high ground. He's got a lot of targets in front of him. Will go down, perfect timing as the bubble just expired for Berglund, who will be the first target here for Out of My Game. Looking to clean up the rest of the point, and you can see Orgless and Hungry completely split apart, and some of them will just go take a little bit of a train ride as they do move off the map, and Out of My Game will sustain the point and get to above 80% of their own now.
Talk about clinical. Talk about confident. That is Out of My Game. They read what Orgless and Hungry is doing. They're like, okay, that's cool. we're going to wait. Way Fast heads back after using the EMP. Is going to be the Zarya now. But that's a really good read. The EMP, he waits till the bubbles go on cooldown, so he gets the strip of all the shielding there. And out of my game, hold for the moment. Now they're setting themselves up pretty aggressively in this play. That Discord Orb providing so much value early on. And Shift, that wasn't really a proper fight from Orgless and Hungry, but it doesn't matter because the fight just ended, right? They were not able to get to point, and out of my game there takes point one. It's a struggle there because as confused as I was how, sort of when you look at a comp like that and you read what the switch is going to be, you want to be very aggressive with how you react to it. Out of my game do so. Orgless and Hungry a little bit lost. They do the first switch properly, but they don't do a good job coming back from the follow through when out of my game switches to the Goats comp and kind of just misread how the Sombra is going to be played there. Orgless and Hungry, they're going to have to make it up here on this second point because now, out of my game, they look collected, I think is probably the best word to describe them.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing to keep in mind as this round gets opened up here on the Shrine Sanctuary area, Leoded's a very notable Mei player. So we very well could see it. We've seen him pull it out here before. He's going to come out of spawn as the Diva for now. But you talk about Orgless and Hungry and some of their weaknesses. That Ghost composition has not been a very big catalyst for success, at least so far in this Contenders trials. And now you look at this again, the Discord Orb placement just so good for Cost as he's putting a lot of damage in as well, allowing his team to move on in. And Progi already up to nearly his first Earth Shatter after the first fight will be completed.
They don't even get they clean up entire kill before the point even unlocks. It's actually pretty impressive. Good first cleanup out of my game. Gonna get that first capture, and that comes down to just better management of pressure as the Reinhardt, right? You're in their face. Orgless and Hungry can't do anything, and you talked about Progi's Earth Shatter, but look at Henningsen. He's at 16%. That's insane. There's no pressure there on the shield front, and Orgless and Hungry just lose that fight as a result.
You can already see the Discord Orb, again, focused onto Henningsen and that Reinhardt as much as humanly possible. Earthshatter comes through, but the shield was already up, so a little bit missed time for Progi, so missed opportunity. Can Orgless and Hungry turn this one around? They're going to have to deal with Way Fast, though, and he's full charge and dealing all sorts of damage. Will try to take down the support line, but is getting poked out pretty hard himself. He will eventually be able to come right back in and find himself this counterpart Zarya, which will allow him to essentially move in for free with all of this free plasma damage, and just comes down to focusing down the targets. The rally was also used there, and that's not exactly what you want to see from Orgless, as they were already pretty much split down as three of them were already eliminated. So now we're looking at 48% for out of my game. It will likely get to about 65 before we see the next contest.
The most awkward thing there for Orgless and Hungry is that they used ultimates when out of my game didn't. Yeah, Progi technically used the Earth Shatter, but he's going to be close to it for this next fight. Out of my game won that out with a block Shatter. They had an ultimate get no value, and they still won the fight. So very awkward place for Orgless and Hungry to be finding themselves in.
And now, again, like I mentioned, right around the 65% mark is when the point will start to be contested. But of course, still in control for out of my game as Orgless is just looking for a route to move in. But again, you can see Henningsen is just so unsure about how he wants to dive in. He knows there's so many ultimates, and there's one of the Graviton Surge right there. There's Shatter in response. Will not be able to find anything, but Progi's got one of his own. Can he find this backline? There was only one elimination so far. It's on the Brigida. You can see Progi try to posture for positioning. He will be sucked into a Graviton Surge. The self-destruct is there, but instantly met by his shield, but Way Fast was not quite behind it. So now all of a sudden, eliminations and a DMAC for Orgless. Can they flip this one around? Progi still holding on to the Earth Shatter, and it looks like they have pushed back enough Orgless and Hungry who are looking at a soft reset.
Orgless and Hungry have to walk into the next fight with 0 ultimates. Out of my game, they have the Earth Shatter to work with, and that is disaster territory now. You need ultimates to retake this fight, and Orgless and Hungry just don't have anything to work with.
Progi looking for a target. We'll actually see an isolated Zarya, and we'll start to slap, and now it comes down. It will be the Brigida in his face, though, so not quite able to push forward, but regardless, Ruby is down, and so is Kagasi. A 6-on-4 is what we will be left on point. Orgless and Hungry are starting to fall apart at the seams as we are in overtime at 99%. It just comes down to dealing with some of these pesky supports, which they will take down the peskiest in Lucio. The DMAC comes through, and out of my game, they'll take Busan at a 2-0 scoreline.
It looks like they need that first point to just sort of warm up for OMG if that ends up being read. Here's the thing, man. When you walk into a fight, and I talk about this all the time, ult economy is so valuable, and we got to see why. Just one ultimate, the threat of one ultimate is what ends up winning that fight. You know, they Earth Shatter, they knock down 2, actually, the Zarya and in the backline, 1 more. And the fact that you can't pressure because you're down effectively 2 players for that moment when the stun is applied means that Reinhardt can play very aggressively in your face, and you know they don't have any ultimates because they just used all of them last fight. So there's no threat there. So you're down effectively 2 for about 5 seconds, And I know the stun is short in that, but you're down 2 for about 5 seconds, and on top of that, you don't have any resources to try and support yourself. It's a tough situation to be in, and Pierogi takes full advantage way fast as well. They walk past the shield, they do as much damage as they want, and they clean that fight up really, really cleanly. Ult economy is so very massive in this game, and here we got a very clear example as to why. Even an ultimate that wasn't supposed, what you would call under the most normal of circumstances, very valuable, ends up being the catalyst for a victory. So Orgless and Hungry, their work is still cut out for them.
Absolutely so. I mean, without a doubt, this was the biggest thing as we took a look at it. I have to compliment it just on the simple fact that, you know, you can see the experience out of my game because of what you mentioned. When they know that there's no ultimates there, they have Pierogies, they can essentially push on forward. Call them essentially Century 21 because they're giving away free real estate at that point, right? So as you move forward, I mean, you take a look at the upcoming series as we move through. Of course, we're going to be going through the entire map set, all 4 maps in the round-robin format. But the biggest weakness right now for Orgless is simply the fact that they are just not able to quite match up with my game on the GOAT standpoint. So do you try to cater your map selections based off playing more DPS-centric comps?
I don't think you have a choice, really. It's a tough place to be in. GOATs is good everywhere. And even the GOATs that we've seen, like the standard, or the Zen GOATs, so to speak, the fact that we've seen that a lot, if you're comfortable with that, you can actually force teams that are uncomfortable to be playing stuff that they don't want to. DPS, here's the thing, GOATs is really good not because it can't be countered. It's really good because it makes countering it really difficult. It's a lot easier to do well at GOATs than it is to do, you know, DPS comps. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not saying that GOATs is, you know, at the highest level easy. It's just that it's easier when you've practiced it that much more. And when you're forced to play DPS comps into it and you're not practiced on that, it becomes a lot harder. And heading into King's Row now, it's going to be odd because this map here is tank map. This is where tanks are played a lot and has been throughout the history of Overwatch. Even during like Dive's heyday, you would still see Ryan Zarion here at points. So I'm interested to see, but out of my game, I think here they're more than comfortable playing this map. Even with the changes, like Wayfast has chosen to play Sombra a little bit, has been pretty comfortable on it, but I think you play him on Zarya here, you just run through the map.
Yeah, I think that Zarya, I would say, you know, because how tight this map is throughout the entirety of it, it's just free charge from everywhere, it feels like, once you bubble yourself or someone else, and that's obviously one of the big catalysts of why she's been so successful on King's Row throughout the history of this map. But you will see out of my game, they'll be setting themselves up on defense, and kind of as we both expected, LaFon, it will be a GOAT's composition defensively. Orgless and Hungry, Berglund, he's done this before where he'll just poke open with the Widow, try to find an opening headshot or something, and then they'll switch back. Kagasi as well, you don't anticipate him playing the Hanzo for long. So Orgless and Hungry just going to get some scouting information and then look to see what they want to come out of spawn with.
Yeah, and wow, big surprise. It is going to be Zen Goats. The Hanzo is going to Sonic out. Looks like they might see if they're playing close. Does actually find the comp. They do find that they're playing Goats themselves, playing in a hotel. They're going to retreat out, switch to the break. So now it's Goats versus Goats. Good old-fashioned. Here we go. And King's Row opens up. Rotation through hotel. Orgless and Hungry try and play that flank.
And this is a good, quick rotation as Henningsen's already on point. We talked about how he was a little bit slow to get his ultimate in the Busan map style. Can he find a way to be a little bit more successful here? Pierogi, though, you can already see at 60%. Counterly, Henningsen just at 20, so not going their way, at least as of now. Those fire strikes paying off dividends for Pierogi. And you can already see Orgless and Hungry, you have to make a decision. Do you go or do you back? You can't just sit here all day long, and it looks like they'll finally jump on in. It was Tame looking to find a boop, and they've already found Pierogi, very low HP, but look at how well he's peeled back. Wayfast is full charge, and he's able to dive right on in. You talk about just being able to know exactly when to play this comp and how to play it. Out of my game, looking extremely smooth, as Henningsen and Kagasi will both fall for Orgless. This is all gas pedal for out of my game, looking to clean up the rest of this team fight.
The most sad thing there is that despite all the pressure that Orgless and Hungry had there, look how little point percentage they got. Yeah. Effectively 0. I mean, it is 0 and going to be at the end, but they got like, I think, 8% or something. Basically nothing. And that means that not only are they behind the 8-ball now in terms of ult economy, they're also behind in point percentage. They didn't even gain anything from that fight. They ended up just wasting a bunch of their own time.
There is a Transcendence on the board for Ruby, who actually just got poked really, really hard and has to back up away from this. If out of my game could force out another pick, potentially, as Chalky Milk is down from Tang, and now this is an opportunity potentially for Orgless. Self-destruct, able to come on through, and it's not going to find anything at all. The Earth Shatter does not seem to have found any stuns either from Pierogi, who will fall immediately afterwards. So all of a sudden, numbers for Orgless and Hungry, who have no shields to deal with at the moment, so they'll just dive right on in. It will be Olu sacrificing his life, so a couple of his teammates can get away, but regardless, the damage has been done, and capture an A will come through for Orgless and Hungry.
I praised Out of My Game's ult economy last map, but I have to question my sanity here. Progi is down 4 players and decides to Earthshatter to backline when he had 20 HP. A curious decision that paid 0 value, and now Orgless and Hungry, yeah, that first point took them a while, but look, now they have the tools to work through second. This is going to be a fight that they need to win very cleanly here as Out of My Game try to take this high ground away and force the cart to stop before Archway.
Now, we have seen some questionable ultimates from Henningsen as well, but how about that? Already taking that way fast, and Progi not even going to need the Earthshatter here as Berglund is still near full charge, looking to melt the D-Mech, and we'll be able to find it. And it's just a little bit of a cleanup here for Orgless. That's a really well-timed first fight. Granted, Out of My Game, like you mentioned in the Busan map style, we're just going in looking for a dry one to build up their own ultimates of their own. But regardless, Orgless and Hungry find themselves 5 out of 6, and Ruby's halfway to a Transcendence because of it.
Out of My Game, actually, that fight was a wash. Both teams are okay with it because Orgless and Hungry, they don't have to use any ultimates. Out of My Game, they stall some timeout. So both teams, they were okay with how that fight went out. Both recognize the value of taking that dry fight there. And Out of My Game now, they're going to be able to work with the support ultimates here to try and nullify the very impactful tank ultimates that Orgless and Hungry have online.
Indeed, but of course, I'm sure Orgless would have liked to stall a little bit longer as we are nearing that second checkpoint. Rally will be popped for Orgless. Looking to move on in. Henningsen, can you have good trigger discipline today? We'll drop one down, and he's found a split team. That's good to at least find a fire strike damage. Now the Graviton Surge right on top of his body as well. Can he slap through it? Self-destruct there. It's going to be enough damage coming out of the fist of Tang and Berglund as well. Numbers for Orgless, and Out of My Game not quite able to respond for this one, and it will be Orgless and Hunger after this cleanup, getting their way through the second street stage.
As explosive as that fight was, Orgless and Hungry actually had to overspend. They had to use both the Earthshatter and the Graviton Surge combo. So, yes, Henningsen's going to have his Earthshatter again very soon, but right now he is behind Progi in that ultimate. And so, Out of My Game now walk back into this next fight with both tank ultimates available, and Orgless and Hungry have only the Transcendence to work with.
But Berglund's still very high charge, so he's going to be finding his charge very quickly. Oh, that Graviton nearly ate, but not going to do it. And Twolves will just thread a needle behind Henningsen. He will be able to find 3, and a D-Mech Diva will fall. Ruby will take a splash off the side of the map as well. So Out of My Game, they also commit a lot there, as we did see the rally as well as the Graviton with the self-destruct, but they still do hold on to Progi's Earthshatter.
That is a clean ult. That's a goat's combo right there. The self-destruct combo, and then the shoulder charge in to prevent the shield from being there. Excellent play by OMG, and they hold themselves now for the moment. Chalky Milk a little aggressive, does get behind the shield in time, and now both teams poking each other. This is a Ryan v Ryan battle. Who's gonna break? Who's gonna blink first?
Indeed, Progi already half HP, and he's a little bit caught out. Will catch himself a bubble. Will he look for it here? No, not going to pull the trigger, at least not as of yet. Again, still low. Oh, good shield timing there, and Henningsen, he'll block all of it. We'll throw down one of his own, but unfortunately, Koss is already in the Transcendence, so they will at least find one elimination onto Olu. Orgless and Hungry, can they find more? They still have a Graviton Surge, but looking to hold it as they know their advantage is here. But is it still there? Because Henningsen has also dropped away, so no Reinhardt for the side of Orgless, but they do find a D-Mech. So again, numbers essentially even. Berglund, he's got a lot of damage behind this cannon, but looks like they're going to soft reset, wait for Henningsen to return to the fight, and look for one more team fight.
It's going to it's going to come down to this fact that Berglund has the Graviton Surge and way fast, not there yet. This is going to have to be Orgless and Hungry's fight. They have to win it out here because otherwise they set themselves back massively. Way fast though, building very, very quickly to that Graviton.
Graviton will soak in a couple, self-destruct right behind the shield, and charged, and it will find at least Progi. You would have liked to have seen more, but it was good trigger out of My Games to get the sound barrier down and try to soak up some of that damage. Now Berglund, can you find more damage? There's a self-destruct atop the payload. It will be blocked naturally. Henningsen looking to get himself involved with the hammer, but the Transcendence now also here for Out of My Game, looking to get them back in his full 6-on-6 fight. Essentially no ultimates on the table, but support ultimates at the moment. Wayfast has already farmed up another Graviton Surge, so keep an eye on that blue Zarya. And there it goes, right on top of the payload, but immediately met by Ruby and his Transcendence, but it wasn't in time to save Henningsen or Kagasi. So as we have a minute and 45, looks like Out of My Game will hold this defense and leave Orgless and Hungry wondering what to do next.
That was absolutely disastrous for Orgless and Hungry. The fact that their combo was not valuable, they only get the 1 kill on it, they're unable to find the pressure back, means that they have to reset here now with a minute 30 remaining, and they're behind. Again, this is down to tank ultimates. This next fight, they're so important. Berglund will have the Graviton Surge, but they need to build this combo now. They need to finish with time remaining, because otherwise they're in really bad territory.
You already see the Amp It Up coming out of the Out of My Game, looking to find a first pick, and Henningsen will fall. He's short of the Earthshatter. so he's going to be desperate to find one. Koss will start to clean up as well, and Twill's looking to chase down a couple more targets. They will also find the nearly full charge of, well, not pardon me, actually Berglund was able to escape just narrowly with his life, pardon me, and looks like with just under a minute left, we will see one more final desperation push for Orgless.
Desperation is the name of the game, and Henningsen, man, he's gonna have to play some really good Overwatch here to find a way to outthink Progi here with this Earthshatter. Berglund gonna probably, I don't know.
He does find a couple in the back line though, but the biggest thing on, whoa, goodness, how do you let that happen? You almost wonder if you don't just counter ultimate right there just to try to save your support, but it looks like it's going to be just a wash for Orgless. They're going to try to set up one more, again, very desperate push, as this will likely be in overtime if they complete the map at all. But you still look at Out of My Game, they're able to hold on to the self-destruct as well as the Transcendence, and even still, way fast, pretty close to having his Graviton Surge as well.
Well, they're gonna put the self-destruct in very aggressively here. Transcendence is forced. Oh, this is risky.
Yeah, LaFon, I don't know if I like the call on that one. Out of My Game, put a little bit over aggressive. Orgless and Hungry still here, but Henningsen falls again. He wasn't able to hit the Earthshatter in the middle of that little engagement. Progi in the backline now does have an Earthshatter of his own. He'll drop it. It'll find two on top of the payload. That'll be all cleaned up for Out of My Game. And gosh, I got to get your reaction just generally after this fight gets cleaned up here for the defense, LaFon. We saw that engagement take place right near that second stage checkpoint. It didn't seem to go all that well. It will be desperation swap for Henningsen, but he's by himself and he will likely be full down. The adaptive shield is good enough to keep him alive, but he will be too far away from the payload to keep the overtime in effect.
I don't say this too often because I try and keep it for the most important of moments, but Orgless, what was that? that wasn't particularly great. You have 6 ultimates. Well, you had 5. Okay, the sound barrier wasn't online yet, but you had 5 ultimates. You choose to spend them in the ultimates. Usually means that either the enemy team has 6 themselves or you win. That's what it comes down to in most Overwatch scenarios.
Right.
But just the Graviton Surge doesn't find value because it doesn't capture anyone. Right? Actually, no, I take that back. It caught way fast. But you don't get the kill, so it doesn't matter. Earthshatter was just committed for no reason. Self-destruct, same. Support ultimates don't defend. I'm harping on them a little bit. I have to be honest. I am being a little bit harsh, but I think they deserve it. That fight is just not clean enough, and at this level, the fact that you want to prove to yourselves that you are this good, it's a questionable fight for me. I'm not a fan of that. And Out of My Game, they read it perfectly. Yes, they you know, Progi walks in, he walks past the team. Twills also sends his self-destruct behind them, and it forces Orgless and Hungry to rotate around it in a way that I don't think Orgless wanted to. And Out of My Game just plays it perfectly. They play the advantage, they take the kills, and then Progi, you know, shatters them from behind, and then you're knocked down the cart with overtime in spawn, or overtime spawns in effect, and there's nothing you can do. So Out of My Game, yeah, they give up 2 points, but they're very confidently holding there on third. And now, okay, this is not something we get to see every day. Okay, and this is why you see what they're running, and you go right back to spawn and you switch.
Yeah, I was excited to see it though. Maybe we saw some cheeky strats coming out of My Game, but no, it'll just be if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Although I will have to say, and this is something that we'll talk about after this map, is just the Reinhardt on Reinhardt battle has been less than overwhelming, I guess you could say, at the moment. At Ruby, you can see one of the newest additions to Orgless and Hungry, again, just trying to get that Discord orb down onto Progi as much as possible, and there was enough damage initially to get Out of My Game to reconsider their first push, but Henningsen will also fall very low, so now all of a sudden, Out of My Game, can they punish the Reinhardt? He does get booped around, and goodness, he was looking like a pinball in there as he was bouncing from player to player, getting booped and swung on, and he will be the first elimination. Out of My Game have also found Berglund, so at this point, it's just the D.Va plus support line, and that's just a triple kill for Progi, and you love to see that. Out of My Game will find a very quick capture on A.
Out of My Game, they lose 1 player in that entire fight.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Out of My Game, what are you doing? Absolutely terrible play there. No, but Orgless and Hungry, you called out the Rein versus Rein, and yes, Henningsen has not been able to play the game. He's played so passively, and yet they still, okay. This fight is meaningless because they're going to be able to hold here at the back to spawn for Out of My Game, but to Orgless and Hungry, they need to find some way to get Henningsen back in the driver's seat, and they're going to hope that this May from Leodads is the catalyst for it. You know, section off the team, allow Henningsen to be able to walk in, prevent him from taking a ton of damage, and that's your win condition right now, because honestly, Progi has owned the Reinhardt battle, and it's not entirely up to him. It's the Zarya, it's the Zen, and frankly, Orgless and Hungry just have not had as good a Discord pressure as Out of My Game.
Indeed, a nice rally coming out from both teams. The ice wall from Leodeds. And again, if you're just joining us, not having seen Orgless and Hungry, Leodeds actually a very capable May. A lot of ultimates on top of the point. The self-destruct from Trolls will find one. Now all of a sudden, it is a 6-on-5 favoring Orgless. That May could be so distracting, and looking to charge on in will be Henningsen. He'll find one for his life, but is it enough a cost for them to actually win out this fight? And they will be able to find down Progi. But again, out of my game, just off the back end damage of Wayfast, will actually be able to clean up the support line as well as the May. So what looked to be a good start for Orgless will very quickly be flipped out of my game's favor, and all of a sudden the Streaks phase looked to be pretty compromised. Interestingly though, out of my game actually has the same amount of time as second as Orgless and Hungry did. So both these teams are about on pace with each other, which is very rare to see, in all honesty, considering how quickly OMG took that first point. Yeah. Orgless and Hungry, it's going to be... this Shatter can actually be massively a massive part of this game if they can find a way to knock down 3 at least. Well, we'll see. Henningsen has been bounced around a lot. The ice wall, he's also found that with his hammer a couple of different times for a little bit of friendly fodder there. As Henningsen, again, very low. He needs to stay alive. The sound barrier is used for out of my game. They want to push forward, and they do punish Henningsen, but Progi falls as well. So a free Graviton Surge for out of my game, and it looks like Wayfast once again will be able to help convert on a nice crucial target of that very annoying May. It just comes down to, can they clean up the last couple of bodies? Self-destruct thrown a little bit over aggressively, and now all of a sudden Orgless coming out will be able to hit the Transcendence to make sure they can keep out of my game away from stage 2 completion, and they will do so mildly so. Berglund now needs to make a play, but it's actually Progi who finds the Earth Shatter, and that will actually foil all of the defense before it can get fully set up. Out of my game looking to finish off this map in this third round. The difference between these two teams right now has been that Out of my game has been willing to make plays. You know, sometimes you got to take risks. Sometimes you got to play aggressively to get value. That's a nice right click there from Koss. But when it comes down to it, Orgless and Hungry, that fight could have swung back in their favor a couple of times, and they just don't commit ultimates. And when they do commit them, it's too late. I have to say, it just Out of my game, they have been a little bit more aggressive across the board. Nice wall to try to distract us. Here we will see the Graviton Surge put on top of that wall. It soaks in a lot of Blizzard on top of it as well, but goodness, nobody got frozen from that at all because it was almost eaten by Twills. I almost missed that one completely. So now all of a sudden, can you turn this one around? Earth Shatter, not quite able to connect for Henningsen. You've said that too many times today for my liking. A self-destruct will be thrown over the top for out of my game. Won't find anything. So now Orgless and Hungry, can you find any more delay on this payload? Nice wall there to try to separate Progi, but is there enough damage to follow up? Doesn't seem to be. He's able to retreat back towards his squad, and all of a sudden Orgless and Hungry are left to receive this full-on push. And what a clutch wall stopping Progi mid on the Earth Shatter, and now the Transcendence for Orgless, that'll likely be enough for them to get a little bit aggressive, but again, still, full 6-on-6 fight, nobody has died yet, so all of a sudden, Out of my game could just soft reset, get back to full HP, and try to take it once again. You're getting close to Wayfast on the Graviton. Berglund, when are you going to drop this Graviton Surge? You've held on to it for what feels like a century. Just hit the Q button. There you go. Finally, he's able to put it down, and that will be our first elimination. The Transcendence comes out behind it, LaFon, and I don't know if it's going to be able to be enough to help Out of my game sustain this one. Yeah, no, Out of my game does have to reset there, but take a moment, take a breath, because that's as long a fight in Overwatch as you're gonna see. That's not an overtime fight, by the way. That's just goats for you. Both teams, they have 6v6 for a good 45 seconds to a minute before anyone even begins to think of falling. So Berglund has his Graviton again, by the way. Just used it, has it again, and Out of my game now. There's time for them to be caught up here. Ice Wall not quite as effective as Leodeds was hoping for. Graviton surges right on top, and a nice little charge from Progi to at least find Tegan, and he follows up with an Earth Shatter. That'll be enough to stun 4. Can they find more eliminations on the back end? It looks like yes is the answer. Oh, goodness gracious. That one was exactly what you wanted to see the first time around from Out of my game. They were able to punish completely, and now all of a sudden, the golden check mark of victory, wow, words, is right in their sights. Setting up this next fight, though, Berglund does have the Graviton Surge. His cast does have the Transcendence. So, never mind. Okay. Never mind. They did have a win condition established. Unfortunately, the win condition can't be met if you don't even contest the point. To be fair, it was good sound wave. It was a good sound wave to push everybody away. Okay, it's not a full-on C9. Yeah, it's not a C9. I'm gonna say that. It's not a C. It's close though. It's real close. Well, Fawn, there are so many question marks funneling around my head right now. I don't know if you can visibly see them on camera, but we have instances where it's a very one-sided fight for both teams. Actually,
Yeah.
we've had a couple instances where it's over before we can even call it, and then there are instances where it feels like the fights are lasting for 15 minutes. So, I mean, as you take a look at those instances, of course, you're also figuring that it's Leo Dead's on May, so the ability to delay fights becomes that much more exponential.
Sure.
But where are these elements of success, or more importantly for some of these fights, failures coming from?
I think the thing is that even though those fights go a long time, look at the resources that were used, right? It ends up being Orgless and Hungry that use most of the ultimates. They use most of their resources just to keep the fight going. Never mind winning. And yeah, you're gonna see OMG lose a fight here, but they then walk back in with their resources online. So yes, these fights look like they're lasting a long time, but what's actually happening is that OMG's bleeding Orgless and Hungry out of their resources, and that means that they set themselves up for success even further down the line. So I have to say, at some point you got to cut your losses when you're extending a fight and just go for a reset, try and get value away from it. OMG has just been kiting perfectly, which is you don't get to see very good examples of that too often, because oftentimes when we say kiting, what we mean is that they're just leaving, but here we see them, leaving, so to speak, and taking with them Orgless and Hungry's Earthshatter or Graviton Surge or support ultimates. So OMG playing this clinically, actually, as far as it goes.
Indeed. And again, I just want to hit on this storyline one more time, because if you're not familiar with the Contenders format at the moment, it is just round robin. There's no playoffs in this Contenders trial. So every map matters, especially for Out of My Game sitting at 2-1. They're just at a +2 differential before this set. So you want to win this one 4-0, because you do have other teams that are sitting in that 2-1, 3-0 ratio that you want to make sure that you're trying to put yourself in as much favor as possible. Orgless and Hungry, though, I mean, at this point, they're 0-3. They're looking to essentially just play spoilers and obviously gain that experience and maybe some notoriety throughout the entirety of it. And honestly, there have been some good performances, but I want to hit one more time before we